at least a couple more little things I wanted to add on to that one video about the conversation I overheard in the barn office that just came to me. Number one, yes, I've considered that he might have been talking about Laura Halley, who was the manager that hired me on and had gotten fired like a couple weeks after I was brought in. And he was at war with her. They were having like a manager's battle. So he hated her guts. But here's the thing. I first of all, she was not readily in view. Like, I was the person who was just standing in front of him a moment prior in that room. More likely they switched the conversation over to talking about me as soon as I left. And because Jeremy didn't talk about Laura very much other than to tell me that, to make sure that I knew he was my boss and not her. Even though she hired me on, he said, since you're working for the barn, you work for me. I'm the barn manager. Other than that, he was already convinced she was gone. And I suspect he was probably right. I think that at that point, from everything I've heard here and there, that the owners had already made up their minds to fire Laura. And were taking their sweet time about it for all kinds of reasons. I don't think she warranted being discussed anymore with Jeremy Edwards. I don't think that he would have bothered talking about her any too much more than he needed to. As far as he was concerned, she was just a pebble in his shoe, and she was about to be gotten rid of. And he didn't even have to watch it happen. He was going to be gone for vacation. And also, again, my gut instincts are good, and I tend to try and trust them, because when I don't listen, that's when shit goes wrong. That was about me. It wasn't about Laura Halley. And here's another thing. One of the things Laura Halley was called out on, why she wasn't allowed to be in the barn, why she wasn't allowed to be in charge of the barn, was she wanted to be able to go into the barn and hand feed the horses carrots and apples. Well, on the day I was fired, I went into the barn to go get my tools. Like, we were told, no carrots and apples, no hand feeding. That's something Jeremy Edwards said to me before he left. No hand feeding. And what he meant was, they get hay and they get feed. They do not get apples and carrots and stuff, treats like that. First of all, it spoils them, makes them expect that. And when you don't give it to them every day, then they're harder to manage. Second of all, that's like a once a year type of treat, maybe. You know, because it messes up their digestive system. They're actually not supposed to be regularly digesting things like apples and carrots. Horses primarily eat grasses and some grains. Once in a while they might get some fruits from a wild apple tree or something, but that's not a consistent daily thing. So their digestive systems are not made to handle that. So that was a big order that was given to me. No hand feeding. Well, my last day there, when I was fired, when I went into the barn to go get my tools, guess what was right there? A big bag of apples, and they'd been feeding them to the horses. The entire time I was there, there was no feeding, hand feeding, anything like that to the horses. They got hay and grain. As far as I saw, as far as I ever did, they got hay and grain. They got exactly what I was told to give them. And I never saw anybody else the entire time I was there, working there, giving them carrots or apples or anything like that. I think it's interesting that on the day that they have me leaving, they're treating them to apples. That's a conditioning thing. That's like, we know you're about to lose this chick who's been in here taking care of you guys for 3 months, and you formed an attachment to her because she's actually nice to you and she actually gives a shit about you. Like, she's actually motherly towards you, as I tend to be towards all animals that I'm taking care of. Like, I tried to be very aware of the fact, like, yeah, they could kick me to death, and like, I have to take kind of like a upper hand tone with them to some degree, but Horses didn't give me any more trouble than they gave everybody else. They gave Jorge trouble. So like the certain horses gave Jorge troubles. There are certain horses that gave people trouble that didn't give me trouble. So it's just the way it goes. But I was very much like barn mom. And they got very used to me. And to the point where I think I've mentioned in past videos, like a lot of those horses would follow me around their stall and give me love nibbles and stuff, snuggle me. So they were treating them on the day that I was leaving to teach them it's good that I'm not there. To teach them that it's good barn mom is leaving. Look, see, the day barn mom isn't here, her last day here, you get a treat. That's how training animals works. You use the carrot or the stick. I took so many psych classes in school, and I started in high school and continued in college. So we learned that in Psych 101 in high school. Go read about Pavlov's bell. How he trained a dog to salivate just at the sound of a bell. That's how it works. They were training those horses to be pleased that I wasn't going to be there anymore by giving them treats that they typically aren't allowed to have and that I never gave them because I was under strict orders not to give them. And then, of course, on the day I'm not there, they're giving them the treats that they're not typically allowed to have. That's interesting. It's very interesting. Just thought I'd leave you guys with those things.